adding a filmic style, dare I say it? Yeah, I'm going to say it. Adding a cinematic look to any footage within Davinci Resolve just got a whole lot easier thanks to the Film Look Creator. In just a few clicks, the Film Look Creator can take your footage from meh to amazing. Oh, and also, thanks to Audiio for sponsoring this video. And it's designed to work with any footage, both standard and log, and it will work with the Davinci Resolve Auto Color Management and CSTs. But you do need to be on Davinci Resolve 19, and you do need to be on the paid studio version. The Film Look Creator is not available within the free version of Davinci Resolve. So anyway, let's jump in and I'll show you how this thing actually works. So the Film Look Creator is available on both the cut and the edit pages under Open Effects. If you just search for the Film Look Creator, you'll find it in there. It is of course available within the color page. Same thing, open up the effects library, search for Film Look Creator and you'll find the Film Look Creator. And it is also available within the Fusion page. So if I hit Shift and Space to bring up my select tool, find the Film Look Creator, and you can see it's available to us here as well. But to start us off, we're going to stick with the color page. Now I've got some standard sort of footage here. We're not messing around with color management just yet. I'll come back to that in a moment. And I've got a node set up within my nodes. I can grab my Film Look Creator and I can either drop it onto an existing node or drop it onto this line over here, and it will create a new node for us like so. Now, as soon as we've done that, you'll see it's putting a bit of a grade, a bit of a look onto our footage. So the Film Look Creator has a look that's built in by default. Now that film look, which is built in, isn't any particular film stock. It's not emulating like a Kodak something or other from 1972. It's Blackmagic's own interpretation of a filmic style color grade. However, you can disable it if you want to, so then you can use all of the controls which are built into the Film Look Creator without having that standard filmic look applied. So once you've got your Film Look Creator on there, within the inspector over on the right-hand side, we've got a bunch of controls. Now the first thing, presets. So it comes with a bunch of presets. We've got a default 65mm, a default 35mm. The only thing that really changes between those two is the grain. We've then got a cinematic, Bleach Bypass, nostalgic, default, no effects. So this still gives you the color grade, but without any actual effects applied. Clean slate, which doesn't give you really anything at all, but gives you all of these controls to use if you want to, and then custom. However, if you click on any of them and then modify it, it will automatically switch to custom for you. Underneath there, we have color blend. So if I just bring this down, as it gets to 0, you see it will disable these color settings down here. So we can actually just blend the color settings like so. Now, it's important to note the color blend is only these color settings down here. It's not that overall film look. Again, if I knock this all the way down to 0, we can see that there is that film look being applied. Underneath there, we have the effects blend. And this is for things like grain, halation, vignettes, all that sort of thing. We can just toggle those off and on. Once again, when the effects blend is down to 0, all of these will become inaccessible, so we can't use them. We have a 3D LUT compatibility tick box, so if we want to convert this, we want to make it into a LUT, we can just toggle that on. That actually disables all of the effects because the effects can't be packed into a LUT, and then we could export the LUT as normal. We have a color space overrides section, which we'll come back to later, and then we have this film look area. So if I was to knock the color blend down, the effects down, as mentioned, we still get this film look. However, we can knock this film look down if we want to. And with all three of those things down to 0, this node is essentially doing nothing at all. So we can control how much of that kind of film stock is being applied. Underneath that, we have skin bias. Now, it's really handy to note, if you hover your mouse over the titles, it will give you a brief description about what each of these are doing. So -1 equals warm, darker, and more saturated. 1 equals rosy, brighter, and less saturated. So if we have a look at the face here, this lady's face, if we bring this down, it kind of goes a little bit greener. When we bring it up, we get more pinkish hues within the skin tone. So you can just control the skin tones a little bit from within there. Keep going down, and we've got our main color settings. So we've got things like exposure, contrast, highlight, which is just going to affect these highlighted areas over here. We've then got fade, which is our low end, our shadows. You can see it within the scopes here. And if we have a look at these really dark areas, we can make them kind of a really rich, deep black, or we can bring those up just a little bit. We've then got white balance, so we can warm this up or cool this down. Tint, which is your greens and your pinks, your magenta. We've got subtractive saturation, which allows you to boost the saturation in the image without actually making it brighter, which is really handy. It's quite nice to use that one. Richness, if we hover over this one, this adds depth and richness to the image. What it essentially does is it will only focus on the already saturated areas. So if our subtractive saturation is set really high, the richness just allows us to either boost or bring down those saturated areas. But if you look, it's not affecting any of the areas which aren't already saturated. So it just gives you finer control over that saturation. And last but not least, we have Bleach Bypass. Now, Bleach Bypass is a common technique in film. It basically takes your image and then a black and white version of your image and kind of layers them on top. Think of Saving Private Ryan and that sort of thing. It allows you to create an almost sort of black and white image, but there's still hints of color, but it's really low saturation with loads and loads of contrast. It's really quite a cool look, actually, so you can have a play with the Bleach Bypass. Color settings done. Before we jump into the effects side of things, let's just take a moment to thank this video's sponsor, Audiio. I use Audiio for all of my music and sound effects in these very videos, and I have been doing so for the past couple of years. If you've never heard of Audiio, Audiio is a music subscription service that has a highly curated catalogue of music and sound effects that you can use for basically any project. From YouTube to podcasts, video games, TV, and even films. Their Audio Pro license gives you unlimited downloads of all of their music and sound effects, and it's available for a special price of just $59 for your first year. That's 70% off. Plus, that Pro license gives you access to their awesome Link Match AI and their brand new AI-based playlists as well, which all means you'll spend more time creating and less time looking for the perfect music. Winner. To get started, simply head over to audio.com/Alex. There's a link down in the description below, and then use the code ALEX70 at checkout to get that first year for just $59. Right, next up, let's talk effects, because the Film Look Creator contains a bunch of really nice effects which you can use to jazz up your footage. So, let's take a look. And first up, split tone. So if we enable this and just crank the amount right up, split tone puts complementary colors within the highlights and then within the shadow. So think of that classic teal and orange look. You can change the colors used by changing this hue angle. So we can just scroll through like so. And then the pivot is the midpoint, the point where it decides what is a highlight and what is a shadow. So if we bring the pivot right to the left, we're just going to get this orange in everything. And over to the right, we're going to get the blue, the teal in everything. So you can just choose where you want that point to be. Next up, we've got vignette. Now, vignette just adds like a darkening around the edges. You can change the amount and then you can change the size. I'm a bit of a sucker for a vignette, so I do like one of those. Next up, we've got halation. We can enable the halation. We can choose whether we want the halation just in the highlights only. And then we've got the amount, which just increases the amount of halation. We've got the radius, which is the size. And then we've got the hue, which is the color. Now, if I just zoom in, you can see the halation here. It's kind of like a small little bleed around highlighted or high contrast areas. So if I change the radius, you can see it's getting smaller and bigger. And if we change the hue, we can change the color. So you get this nice little bleeding right here. Underneath there, we have bloom, which is kind of similar to halation, but it's generally much bigger. So it doesn't just bleed around the edges. It just gives a general sort of blooming to the entire image, as you can see here. Grain, the grain within this is really quite nice. So you can enable the grain or disable it. We've got the preset, the amount, the size, the softness, the saturation, and the defocus amount. So the preset gives us sizing. So if we go to 8mm, zoom right in, we'll get much larger grain, but the image will be slightly out of focus. And if we go 65mm, everything will be nice and sharp, but the grain is quite small and it's a little bit harder to spot. You can then, of course, customize it however you like by increasing the amount, the size, the softness of the grain, the saturation of the grain, and then how much defocus you want within your image. Flicker just gives a flicker effect to your footage, again, amount and rate. So if we give it a play, you can see we've got this flickering going on. It's kind of flashing slightly brighter and slightly darker. We've got the gate weave. Now this gives it kind of like a jittery sort of effect. Imagine film within a projector kind of moving around. That's what this is doing. So everything sort of jitters. And then we've got film gate. Now this is quite a cool addition. This allows you to change kind of the aspect ratio of your footage in a nice way. So there's presets within here. We can go 35mm silent, super 16, or even super 8mm. And then we can manually change the ratio if we want to by adjusting the horizontal and the vertical. We can enable the curvature of these edges. And then we can even add some padding to bring it into the center of the frame. Now you'll notice everything works really well together. So things like the bloom and the halation actually bleed over the film gate, which is a small addition, but I think it looks really quite cool. And all of that fun stuff works in exactly the same way when you're using log footage like this. So this timeline right here has actually got the automatic color management set up, and we're working in SDR and Rec 709. So then if we just jump to the color page on this clip, this was shot with my Panasonic Lumix S5 Mark II. So we're going to go to Panasonic. It was shot with the Vlog. That will just turn this to be my Rec 709, which is what I want to work with. Then I can grab the film look creator, put this on a node, and then everything will work in exactly the same way, but now we're working with our log footage instead. If you're working with CSTs instead, so we've got some color space transforms going on here, exactly the same thing, but we would just put our film look creator in between, sort of towards the end. We'd have our corrector nodes going on here for the general stuff, and then we'd have our film look creator towards the end, just before our color space transform to our output. And then once again, it would work in the same way. Now there is a color space overrides, which is essentially a CST built into the film look creator, but you will have more control by just setting up the separate color space transforms, working in the same way that you usually would, and then just using the film look creator as its separate node like so. Simple. Now just a super quick note about using the film look creator. It's there to create a look. It's not there to replace all of the standard color correction tools that are available to you on the color page within Davinci Resolve. And there's a reason for that. Let me give you a quick demo. So I've got this drone shot and I've got this film look creator added on this node. Now, if I pull down the highlights, you can see we don't actually pull many highlights from these clouds, from the sky up here. We're still losing all of that information. However, if we go to a standard node, just within the nodes area, and we use the standard highlights control, we can actually pull through, we can pull back, we can retrieve a lot more of this information. So it's still key that you use your film look creator at the end to create your look, but you still make use of all of the standard controls within the color page to do your standard color correction underneath that film look creator. Now, as an alternative, rather than adding a film look creator to each of your individual clips, what you could do is click on this little drop down at the top and change this to be timeline. And then anything you do within these nodes will affect everything on your timeline. So I'm going to hit Alt and S just to add a new node. And then I'm going to grab my film look creator and we'll pop that on there. And then if we go through these different clips, you can see that all of those do have the film look creator applied. Then if we change our drop down back to clip, we can do any individual grading on each of these individual clips. So we can do any balancing and whatever else we need to do, but all of them will be affected by that film look creator. We jump to the timeline, we mess around, we change all of our settings within here, and we're good to go. Now, as one last other alternative, if you prefer, if we jump back to the edit page, what you could also do is just grab an adjustment clip, put the adjustment clip above all of your footage on the timeline, then jump to the color page and you apply the film look creator to that adjustment clip, which sits above all your individual clips. You amend the film look creator as you need to within the adjustment clip itself, and then you just go to the individual clips to do any of the balancing that you need to do. Sweet. Now, because you can disable Blackmagic's own sort of film stock look thing, you can use this as a clean slate. That also means you can use the film look creator with existing looks. So if you've got a film LUT, for example, that you really like, or if you're a big smarty pants and you've created a really nice look already within the color page, you can still use the film look creator to tweak it using the color settings and make use of all of those really nice effects as well. That's super duper easy. I'm going to open up the LUTs, and I've got a LUT which I want to apply within here. So I'm just going to apply that LUT to this node, and then I can grab my film look creator and just put this on afterwards. And then we'll likely want to change this to be clean slate. So this film look creator now isn't actually changing the colors whatsoever. Everything is just being changed by this LUT instead. And then we can come through and maybe tweak the exposure, maybe some bleach bypass, some split tones, some film gates or flickers or grain or bloom or whatever we want to do. Then once you've finished messing around creating your look within the film look creator, you're probably going to want to save it. Now, unfortunately, you can't actually create your own presets to drop into that presets list within the film look creator itself. However, there are ways to save different grades and different stuff within Davinci Resolve, which is nice, quick, and easy. So let me show you two ways, one using an adjustment clip and another using power grades. So we've got an adjustment clip. On the color page, you can see that it has a film look creator applied, and we've tweaked it until we're happy. Go back to the edit page, give it a click. Within the inspector, go to file, and you can actually give it a name. So I'm just going to call this film look 1, or you give this a sensible name, whatever you want to call it. Then you open up your power bins from within the media pool. If you don't see power bins, you simply click these three little dots, come down to show power bins. These bins will be available to you in all future projects, so you can always just access whatever's in here. Then we can grab this film look, plonk it in there, and then from any project we like, we just grab the adjustment clip out, put it on our timeline, and it will have that film look applied. So if we give it a click, jump onto the color page, you can see we have our film look within there. So using adjustment clips is a nice, simple, easy way to do it. The alternative is using power grades. So we do that from the color page itself. If we click on the gallery, top left-hand corner, then the second one down is called power grade. These are like power bins, but for the color page. So this node here, once again, has the film look creator applied. So within the preview window, we simply right-click and we grab a still. And that will put the still image within this power grade. If we want to rename it, we right-click and we come down to change label. And let's call this one film look 1 as well. And then let me just reset this node. From any other project or whatever, we just open up the clip. We open up the gallery. We find the still. We right click and then we apply the grade. And then that will just apply that grade, which in our case is just the film look creator, to the current clip. Simple. More options. You can use this however you like. Now, the last thing I want to show you is the fact that you can use this on the edit page. If you're in a bit of a rush and you just want to slap a quick look on something, you can use the film look creator for that. But it's also a really nice tool for just using the effects, for adding some nice effects to your footage on the edit page. For example, maybe you're doing a little throwback montage within the middle of a video and you want it to look old school and retro, maybe like a Super 8mm, or you just want some stock footage to look nice and retro or really black and white and punchy. Whatever it may be, the film look creator is there to help you out. So let's jump onto the edit page this time and take a look. So we're on the edit page. I've got some images set up. Now you can do this at any point in the timeline because we're using an adjustment clip. We can slap the adjustment clip across these three images, and then we're going to go open effects and we're going to search for our film look creator. Pop this on top like so. Once again, in the inspector effects, we've got our film look. It's giving us our filmic kind of color grade. Again, if we wanted to toggle that off, we could just bring down the film look blend. But I just want to come down to film gate and maybe we'll enable this. Give it a nice bit of padding, hit play, and we've got this pretty cool little effect. Maybe give it tons of the gate weave just to give it a nice bit of wobble. Maybe go absolutely crazy with the halation as well, just because why not? We wanted it to look stylistic. Okay, that's too much. Maybe bring it down. But you get the idea. You can do this and it'll look really quite cool. Another nice thing with this, if we go to the video tab and enable the dynamic zoom works underneath the film look creator. So the zoom is only going to be occurring on the images within the frame, but our film gate frame is going to stay the exact same size. We can also do the same thing with transitions. So if I go to my video transitions, there's a nice one within here called Film Strip. We put that onto that edit point underneath our adjustment clip, and now we've got this nice kind of slideshow projector sort of effect. Then of course we can always copy that adjustment clip, put it somewhere else on our timeline, maybe tweak this. Let's go with a custom sort of layout, and maybe let's say we wanted this Bleach Bypass, super high contrast and just purely a mono image. We can tweak it all directly on the edit page to get it looking pretty snazzy. And that pretty much covers the Film Look Creator. Now, one question I've seen a lot is this going to replace things like Dehancer and FilmConvert Nitrate? And yes and no. There's a lot of crossover between those tools. The big benefit of the Film Look Creator is that it's built in, so there's no extra fee. Dehancer is very, very good, but it's also very expensive. FilmConvert Nitrate is a really nice middle ground because it does a lot of Dehancer for considerably less money, so I'd have a look at that if you're interested. But the Film Look Creator doesn't have a bunch of different film stocks for you to choose from. Instead, you're stuck with this film stock that Davinci have created. Or of course, you can use your own film stock LUT and then just use the Film Look Creator to do all of the other stuff. All of this means you've just got more options, so you can pick and choose whichever works best for you. I really like this Film Look Creator. I think it's a really neat addition to Davinci Resolve, and I've been using it quite a lot in a bunch of my videos, so from me, it gets a big thumbs up. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Thanks to Audiio for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to give that little link a click. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. I'll see you next time.